Hello mini makers. Today I'm going to show you how to make 6 different types of heart cookie or biscuit. It's basically the same biscuit, but I'm going to show you how to make it, decorate it in 6 different ways. Okay, now we're going to need beige clay, white clay and pink clay. I'm using Fero, but you know, whatever clay you prefer to work with is fine. We're going to need a rolling pin, some of these little ball-ended tools. We're going to need a paintbrush, a stiff toothbrush, possibly a knife. I'm going to use a mould for my cream, but if you don't have one, that's fine. You can just roll your clay out and swirl it around. I'll show you later. We're also going to need some chalk pastels and some brown oil paint, and you're going to need some liquid clay. Okay, now I'm going to start off by just making the basic shape, so you're going to need heart cutters as well for those in 2 sizes. So I'm going to roll out the beige clay, make sure it's nice and soft and well conditioned, otherwise you're going to have biscuits that break apart. So we're just going to flatten it with our fingers like this, and then a little bit of talcum powder, and just spread it over the top. That stops your rolling pin from sticking to it. And we're just going to roll it out until it's about 1 millimetre, maybe 1.5 millimetres thick, because you don't want really thick clunky looking cookies. Okay, and then a little bit more powder on the top. We're going to take the largest one of these clay cutters, which is, I don't know how big that is, I would say maybe 6 or 7 millimetres. I'm going to dip it in the talcum powder. I'm just going to make one of each biscuit, so I'm just going to cut out 6 little shapes, 6 little hearts out of the clay. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the easiest way to get it out is to lift the excess clay off from the top, like that, and put that to one side because you can use that again for something else. Okay, now I need a cocktail stick. Just bear with me 1 second, I'm going to go grab a cocktail stick. You think you've got everything you need and then you realise you haven't. Right, and with this we're just going to tidy around. Can you put the light on for me please? Okay, we're just going to tidy around the edges a little bit and get rid of. Okay, now that's all tidied, just going to take this toothbrush, which is a stiff toothbrush, like a smoker's toothbrush or something like that will be fine, and we're just going to very gently dab it over the top of your shapes, just around the edges a little bit, just gives them a little bit of texture, don't overdo it. Yeah, just that. Looks okay. It makes them just look a little bit more realistic. Right, now we're going to use some of these, and we're going to use, what are you doing? We're going to use some of this dark yellow here, so we just scrape the top up a little bit, put it onto your, take it out actually, put it, scrape off a little bit onto your work surface like that, and we're going to use this reddish brown colour which is stuck in the thing and won't come out, a little bit of that, and a tiny bit of this darker brown as well. And take your soft brush and just mix that all together a little bit, and then very gently brush it over your cookie, over your shape, concentrating more on the edges. Get a baby wipe and clean up here because I don't want that getting on any of my other clays. Okay. Now we're going to leave one as it is. That's just a plain shortbread. And on this one I'm going to do some pink icing. So I'm going to take a little bit of pink, I'm going to wipe my hands and get the pastel colours off them. There we go. I'm going to take a tiny bit of pink clay. Again, make sure it's all well conditioned. Just a little bit. Even less than that, in fact, because I only want enough for one biscuit at the moment. So a tiny bit of that. And I'm going to take about twice as much white as you've got pink. Don't know if you can see that properly. And we're just going to blend that together quickly. It's all blended and you've got no streaks like that. And that's a nice pale pink. If you want it paler, add a bit more white. If you want it darker, add a bit more pink. It's entirely up to you. Just going to flatten that out with my finger until it's as thin as it can be. A little bit of powder stops it sticking. Just really, really thin. And then with the smaller cutter, and this is like about 4 or 5 millimetre, and you can get all of these cutters on eBay under the craft section. Just cut that out like that. Now we need to lift that, so we're going to use a knife. Be very careful, and we're going to lay it flat on the tile and powder on first. And we're just going to pop that into the centre. Whoops. Without throwing your tools around, I'm just going to pop that into the centre of the biscuit, manoeuvre it around until you've got it in the right place, which I think is about there. And a little bit of powder on your finger and just gently press it on like that, and there you have one with icing in the middle. Okay, so now I'm going to do a jam filling, and you need a slightly larger ball-ended tool, but not too big. And we're just going to make a little indentation in the centre of this heart here, just following the shape carefully, trying not to make it too spread out, too stretched, and too much bigger than the other ones. We've got a nice little heart shape in the middle, and it forms a little well, just like that. And into that, into that little well, we're going to put a jam filling. So we're going to use some liquid clay and just put a little bit on your work surface, on your tile. I use a tile, this is a ceramic tile, just a normal wall tile, because it can go in the oven and bake with the stuff. You don't need to try and move it all off and distort the shape. Okay, into that we're going to put some red pastel powder. So we just scrape it off, sorry about the dog barking, scrape it off like that, and then put it in on the outside. Don't worry too much if you do it, usually just cleans up like that. Okay, so we're applying it carefully into the little well that we've just made, like that, and just gently swirl it in. Totty shush. And don't overfill it with a hair, and don't put hairs in it. Just make sure that you've got enough. And I think that's going to do it. Clean up any spills very carefully. Okay, that's your jam filled one. I'm going to do a sugar coated one, but that needs to be put on after it's baked, so I'm going to leave that plain. And I'm going to do one which is half dipped in chocolate now. So we're going to make the chocolate. So let me just clean up the jam quickly. And we're going to make some chocolate, which is the same basis, same principle. Tiny bit of this for your liquid clay, but instead of pastels for this, I'm going to use oil paints. Now it's important that you use oil paints because the clay is oil based, so water paints won't work, it just won't set. I'm going to put a little bit of brown oil paint there, and I'm going to mix it. Make sure you just clean down everything, just make sure the oil's mixed in with the paint first. Just separate it a tiny bit. Okay, that's way more than I'm going to need, so you just put a bit in and work it in. Put it in your clay and paint mixture and carefully paint it on. Fairly thick, you want a good coating, and it's going over half of the biscuit. Of course, if you wanted to, you could fully do it, or you could leave a little gap in the middle like with the iced one and just do another little heart of chocolate in the middle. Various different options going down here, but I'm just doing a half dipped approach, and that's it. Really quite easy. Make sure you wash that off your brush. You can use a little bit of washing up liquid dishwasher soap, because it's oily, so you need a little bit of soap to get it off. And don't use a really good paintbrush for it, that's one of my old ones. Okay, and the last one I need to make one more biscuit for, because I'm going to do a sandwich one. So okay, so now we're going to make a sandwich biscuit. So carefully take one of your biscuits up off of the tile with a knife. Try not to distort the shape too much, that has a little bit, but we can rectify it carefully. With one of these. Let's see what that was. Okay, now we need some cream in there. I'm going to use a mould. If you don't have a mould, I'll show you very quickly what you can do. You just take some white clay and you roll it into a snake, which is thin, and you kind of stick a bit down the bottom and just coil it up onto itself. Just coil it up, and that will be satisfactory like that. But I'm going to use a mould because I prefer to use a mould. How have I got glitter on my fingers? Even glitter on everything. So I want to take a little bit of white clay. And I'm going to take this, and this is where the glitters come from, it's all in one mould. I'm going to clean that, like so. A little bit of talcum powder just inside one of the little pockets. Again, if you don't have a mould, just make your own clay, it's very easy, I just showed you. Press that in, remove the excess. So, and then use another piece of clay to just gently pull it out. Now you have your cream. I'm going to pop it, just clean that off. We're going to pop it down on top of this, like that. Give it a little push. Push it down on the side so that it's in a wedge shape. And then pop this other one on the top. Needs to be squashed down a bit more. It's the same size. Pop it on the top, gently and carefully. squeeze it down there so that it looks as if, let me turn that so you can see, so that it looks as if you've got it in a wedge shape. Push down one end with the cream in the middle. I'm absolutely covered in glitter from something. It's not a good idea to leave glitter all over your clays either, but anyway, so that's that. I'm going to go bake it now. It needs about 15 minutes. I put it on about 130 degrees, but check the manufacturer's instructions on your clay and bake according to that. So I'm going to go bake it now for 15 minutes and then I'll be back. Right, so these have now baked. I've got a little bit of colour on my cream here from the colouring that I put on from the pastels. To avoid that, what you can do is bake the biscuits first for like 5 minutes, then put the cream in, squish it down, and then go back in the oven for another 10 minutes, and that would sort that out. And the same here, you can apply the pink cream afterwards, after it's been baked, and then put it in and bake it again. I'm just going to put a little bit of this matte varnish now, just gently here into the jam in the middle, and that will give it a nice glossy, just the jam bit. I'm also going to apply it here on the chocolate piece there, just to give it a bit of a shine, and also just on the icing in the middle of that one. And now I'm going to put the sugar on the sugar cookie. So let's clean your brush quickly. We need white glue, just normal PVA glue, and I want to put a little bit, or not. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit, tiny little bit. Just it's sat. My glue's gone hard. 1 second, I'm going to get some new glue. Don't know how long I've had that one. Some white PVA glue, which is in its liquid state and hasn't turned to latex. I'm going to put just a little bit just there. Just need a tiny bit. And then paint it over the surface of the biscuit that you're going to put the sugar on, which is this one. Just over the top. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of that white iridescent glitter on your finger, and we're going to add that bit just onto there, like that, and that's your sugar. Sorry about the dogs barking. Right, that basically then is it. You're done. Let the glue and the varnish dry and put them on a plate. Okay. Sorry about the dog barking. Sorry if the let me just grab that. Sorry if the camera works a bit shaky. We're sort of learning as we go with this. Hopefully the next tutorial will be better. Do subscribe if you want to see some more. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Leave some comments if there's something in particular you'd like to see me make. Until then, I'm going to sign out and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.